I never thought I'd see my HOA president in handcuffs, screaming that she was just enforcing the rules as the cops pushed her into the back of their cruiser. But when you spray a service dog in the face, my service dog, the one who saved me from more breakdowns than I can count, you cross a line you can't come back from. That day, she learned that some rules aren't hers to make, and some people won't stay silent. When I first moved into Sunnyside Estates, I wasn't exactly thrilled. It was neat, quiet, full of manicured lawns and identical mailboxes, too perfect, too controlled. But the walking trails were ideal for my service dog Maverick, and the commute to my job was short enough that I could actually breathe again. Maverick's a golden retriever trained to help me handle PTSD from my military service overseas. He's calm, obedient, steady, everything. I'm not when my mind starts to spiral. He wears his red vest proudly, and I know the Americans with Disabilities Act by heart. I had to. Living with a service dog means you're constantly explaining your right to exist. Still, I never expected I'd have to quote federal law to my HOA president. The first time I met her, she was standing in front of my house with a clipboard like it was a weapon. Karen Whitfield, mid-50s, hair, sprayed into submission, polo shirt tucked too tightly, that I run this place kind of energy. She looked down at Maverick, then at me. I don't recall approving a dog in this community, she said, as if I'd smuggled in a wild animal. I smiled politely. He's a service dog. Federal law allows. She cut me off with a wave. People always find loopholes. Just make sure he doesn't bark or bother anyone. And she strutted off like she'd just done me a favor. I should have recognized the warning signs right there. Within 2 weeks, I got my first violation notice, grass exceeding acceptable height. My grass was barely longer than my neighbor's. A few days later, mailbox color not HOA standard black. Apparently my black was the wrong black. The third one accused me of leaving my trash can visible from the street for 45 minutes after pickup. Each notice came with her signature in perfect cursive, finished with a smiley face that somehow looked threatening. I tried to brush it off. I told myself she was just overzealous. But the truth is, she wanted control, and I was the one neighbor she couldn't control. Then came the HOA meeting. The room smelled like burnt coffee and fear. Karen stood at the front calling for attention. I'd like to propose a new regulation, she said, requiring all animals, including service animals, to be registered and display HOA-approved identification. My hand shot up. That violates federal law. The ADA doesn't allow HOAs to. She didn't let me finish. Federal laws don't override community standards, she snapped. The silence that followed was heavy. A few neighbors shifted in their seats, but no one said a word. After the meeting, she approached me with that same fake smile. She leaned in close enough that I could smell her coffee breath. "If you want to be difficult," she whispered, "I can be difficult too." I didn't know what that meant yet, but I'd find out soon enough. A week later, I was sitting on my porch, coffee in hand, Maverick lying by my feet. The morning was peaceful until a shadow crossed the lawn. Karen stood there holding a spray bottle. Her voice carried down the street. "Your dog is violating the new ordinance by not having proper HOA identification." I sighed. "That rule hasn't even been approved yet, and it's illegal anyway." Her face turned red. "I'm tired of you military types thinking you're above the rules," she hissed. Before I could respond, she stepped forward and sprayed Maverick right in the face. It happened so fast I barely processed it. Maverick yelped, pawing at his eyes. I lunged forward, pulling him back, my heart pounding. "What the hell did you just spray him with?" She smirked. "Just vinegar and water. It won't hurt him. Maybe now he'll respect authority." My hands were shaking. Every muscle in my body screamed to react, to yell, to do something, but I didn't. Years of military training taught me to hold it together when every nerve wants to explode. I took Maverick inside, flushed his eyes with water, whispering, "It's okay, buddy. It's okay." His eyes were irritated, but he'd be fine. Mine weren't. I couldn't stop replaying it in my head. The way she said authority, like she believed she was the law. That night I sat on the couch staring at Maverick asleep at my feet. For the first time since moving there, I thought about leaving. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should just pack up, move somewhere quieter, somewhere without rules and meetings and Karens with clipboards. But then Maverick stirred, resting his head on my knee. This dog had been there for me through flashbacks, through panic attacks that felt like drowning. He'd never once abandoned me. How could I abandon him or myself by letting someone get away with hurting him? I picked up my phone and dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? I took a deep breath. I'd like to report an assault on my service dog. 20 minutes later, 2 police officers were at my door. I showed them Maverick's paperwork, explained everything, pointed across the street to Karen's house. One officer stayed with me, the other went to talk to her. Through the window I could see Karen gesturing wildly, her face twisted in disbelief. When they came back, one of the officers nodded. She admitted to spraying your dog. She said she was enforcing community standards. He sighed. We informed her that interfering with a service animal is a federal offense under the ADA. It's also considered animal cruelty under state law. She's under arrest. Do you want to press charges? Yes, I said, without hesitation. Minutes later, I watched from my window as they walked her to the patrol car, still shouting about how she'd have me evicted and this neighborhood would regret it. Neighbors gathered outside whispering. One woman muttered, "She's finally gone too far." In the days that followed, everything changed. The HOA called an emergency meeting. For once, the room wasn't silent. The vice president, a quiet man who'd always kept his head down, stood up and said, "Karen's actions have put this entire community at legal risk. I propose a vote of no confidence." Hands went up, every single one. Karen was officially removed as president. The next morning, her nameplate was gone from the boardroom table. But her downfall didn't stop there. The case went to court. I showed up with Maverick by my side, calm as ever. Karen walked in wearing designer clothes and a forced smile. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. The prosecutor laid it all out. The HOA harassment, the illegal rule proposal, the assault. The judge's expression didn't change once. When Karen's lawyer argued she'd only been doing her duty, the judge finally leaned forward. "Community rules," he said, "do not override federal law, especially not laws protecting people with disabilities." Karen's face went pale. She eventually pleaded guilty to a reduced charge. Her sentence, 30 days in county jail, a $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service at an animal shelter, and mandatory disability rights education. As the sentence was read, she stammered, "I was just enforcing the rules." The judge looked at her evenly. "The first rule, Ms. Whitfield, is respect the law of the land." For a moment she looked small, stripped of her clipboard and her fake authority. When they led her away, our eyes met. There was no fire left in hers, just defeat. Afterward, I sat in the courtroom with Maverick beside me. He leaned into my leg, calm and loyal as always. I reached down, scratched behind his ears, and whispered, "We did it, buddy." No applause, no celebration, no victory music, just silence. The kind that comes after a storm when everything's finally still. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. It just stands there, steady and quiet, like a dog who never stops doing what's right.